Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ontario Cryptids. I want to start by wishing you all a happy Labor Day weekend. I hope you're getting a chance to relax and enjoy the holiday. Today, I've got 4 incredible encounters to share with you, each one full of mystery and intrigue. If you're new here or a returning viewer who hasn't done so yet, don't forget to hit that like button, the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss an episode. And if you have an encounter of your own, I'd love to hear about it. Send your stories to Ontariocryptids@gmail.com. Now, sit back and relax, and let's get to the stories. I was on George Highway 144 coming from Richmond Hill going through Fort Stewart, Georgia, and was going on a work trip and meeting up with some friends. I'm on my Honda CBR 1000RR motorcycle going close to speed limit. I'm not sure how the authorities are on this route and I don't need to get pulled over. I go around a curve to the right and look straight ahead while I'm approaching a left curve, and my headlights are pointing straight at a very tall, close to 7 to 8 feet tall, hairy creature walking towards the wooded area to my right. He was at that point between me and a power pole, and at this point 60 to 70 feet away, and getting closer fast. It was pretty much at this left curve that I'm about to go onto. His stride was probably 2 of mine. He didn't speed up, he did not look alarmed. He didn't look mad or scary. He simply looked over his right shoulder and looked at me dead in the eyes as I was approaching. I probably was around 10 feet away at the closest. I did not feel scared, nor the creature was not trying to make me feel scared. One thing I remember was the eyes glowing, a little red, almost like an animal at night glowing, but a red glow color. Nothing alarming at that moment to be fearful. I didn't notice any smell riding by, nor did I stop. I was hoping to have it recorded with my camera, but it wasn't recording. I literally made eye contact with this creature for a few seconds. The total encounter, I'd say, was about 10 to 15 seconds before I was gone by and seriously contemplating what I just saw. I went and met up with my friends and spoke to them about what I saw and mentioned the red eyes. I proceeded to look up other encounters in the area and just could not simply find anything, so I forgot about it for a little while, kinda stuck it away. I was at work recently, now about a year later. I had ChatGPT at work and we were all asking it things, and my client asked about loud howls at night and seeing tall creatures. I was like, here we go. But then I heard something that triggered me when she said something about red eyes. I jaw dropped and started to remember. Then I was thinking her home is not far to get to through the forest. Less than 8 miles directly with no rural areas between. She also lives on a river. At this point, I told her I've seen it too. We spoke on these different experiences, and then here I am now. I absolutely saw this thing and got pretty close to it, eyes locked. He never broke stride or sped up or slowed his pace down. This happened, I would say, close to a year ago at night, closer to 12 to 1 a.m. I can tell you I know what I saw and I can't find any other explanation. That's my encounter story. Thanks. Back in 1984, few years after Mount St. Helens erupted, we started hunting elk on the southwest side of the slopes. I was hoping to get a nice bull elk on opening day. I had a place where big bulls like to go hide in. It was a basin that if you did not know how to get there, you would never find it except on a DNR map. Well, I didn't get my elk on the first 4 days, and out of the 5 of us, we already had 3 elk in camp. All of us were loggers at one time or another, and all excellent hunters. Anyways, to make a long story short, I packed a spike camp along with my backboard because it was a 3-hour hike in to get to this spot, and if I got an elk down, I would just stay overnight. The next morning, I took off 2 hours before light, headlamp on, and took off. I had not been back to this basin for years because of the mountains blowing. We were not let back in here. After getting turned around a couple of times, 4 hours later, I found a creek leading into the basin. After a tough climb up into this area, I came to the edge leading in. Completely alert, waiting to see some elk back on this south slope of the back end of the basin. I saw something move, so I immediately got below the side of a huge blowdown log. I slowly looked up over the log, laying my rifle on top. Also, I began looking for what moved. Then I'd seen them. What I thought were 2 black bears playing ended up having arms and heads. I did not know what I was seeing, so I looked through my scope, and it was 2 younger Bigfoot, playing, I guess. I was shocked yet amazed. Then to the right, I made out one huge one with its back to me sitting there, I guess watching these 2 younger ones playing. Then I see more movement to the left, and a big female stood up with a branch in her hand. She had breasts plain as day. She did something with the branch to its mouth, chewing on it or eating bark. Not sure, but her face looked man-like but ape-like. They did not know I was there at all. I was wanting the big one with its back to me to stand up, but it didn't. The ones playing, I guess, were teenagers. They were a lot smaller but still bigger. They kind of moved beyond sight, and the female sat back down or moved away. Something told me I better slip out of there before they noticed me. Never seen the big one stand up, but he or she was huge. Broad back, no neck, just a weird kind of cone head. After ducking down, it hit me what I just saw. I started shaking, because I was 3 hours away from any road. I did make it out, and I told my story once, and I got laughed at. Never told this story again until now. I never stayed in the woods overnight alone. I did not go hunting for the next 4 years, and then never ever hunted there again. It has been over 40 years, and I wish it had been now. Maybe someone would have believed me. For those who don't know, yowies are the Australian version of Bigfoot. I don't know too much about them, but you can research them on this subreddit. This story isn't too crazy, but I thought I would share anyways. Last year, I went for a road trip through the remote NSW with my BF. We stopped the car at the start of a short hike I found on Google. The hike was officially closed by the NP for maintenance or something, but we went around the gate anyways. There were no other people there as you can only drive in here, and we saw no other cars. About 3 kilometers into it, we hear a very strange screaming sound, but very quickly I thought, oh, I think it's just a goat, which I still think it could have just been a goat, but it freaked us out a little. A couple minutes later, a rock comes down next to us like it was thrown. We were both pretty spooked and quickly finished the walk and got back to the car. I started telling him how rocks being thrown at you is something a yowie would do, and we joked about it a little. A few days later, once we had internet again, I was Googling about yowies, and it turns out where we were, the Beluga Forest, is a yowie hotspot. About 5 days later, on our trip back home, we camped at Kula Tops National Park, a pretty unknown remote national park. When we got there, The campground was empty, and we immediately both got a very eerie feeling. It felt like someone else was there, and I couldn't shake that feeling most of the night. We joked about it a little, saying, "Oh, the yowies are watching us." Not long after, when it started to get dark, we hear a tree crash down somewhere in the forest very close to us. It was so loud. It was not windy and not raining. We were absolutely terrified. We did stay the night and slept with the doors locked and ready to roll if needed to. It was early into us dating, so I think we were each trying to act tough. But if that happened to me now, especially after more reading about yowies, I would be out of there. Since then, we have spent months on the road in remote Australia, and we haven't experienced anything like this again. This was in just early July. I arrived to work around 5 a.m., and it's always dark, no matter the time of year. I've been working there since September of 2009. It's a completely fenced-in federal installation. We've had residence deer herds, about 24 or so, for many years. Sometime this past spring, I was walking up to the entryway from the parking lot. I noticed it was dead silent. Not of early morning birds, peepers, or any crickets either. A half hour later, when my boss arrived, I asked her if she noticed any sounds. She said that it was still dead silent. She smokes and had stopped to light up when something hit the fence. Our building is along the edge of the property. The fence line is only 25 feet at the closest point. This is where she usually stops to light up. The fence is 6 feet tall with an additional 18 inches of barbed wire along the top, angled outwards. Something hit the fence, she said, and it sounded like as if it was a baseball had been thrown at it, full force. Due to the parking lot lights, you can easily see 100 feet in either direction. She didn't see any deer or any other creature moving along the fence line. The next day, as I was walking up to the entrance, I heard something walking along the fence on the other side, just inside the trees. The footfall sounded like a bipedal mammal, so I said, "Hello? Good morning." Footsteps stopped. It was a few weeks later, after more mornings of dead silence, that I saw him. There is a large drain pond just beyond the parking lot, probably an acre easy. My headlights swept over from right to left when I pulled into the parking lot. Standing about 5 to 6 feet down the embankment, between the two closest lights was a tall, slender, chocolate-brown Sasquatch. He was very intently watching a trio of deer at the far end of the drain pond. His build was like that of a teen boy that had just finished his final growth spurt, and his muscles hadn't filled in yet. I thought he was about 7 feet tall based on the level of the parking lot. He didn't wait around for me to park and exit my vehicle. I hurried over to where I saw him standing, but I couldn't see or hear anything. The deer at the far end were gone too. After work, in the high late afternoon sun, I went back to the spot, and about 5 to 6 feet down, roughly halfway, there was a 4 feet diameter flattened area in the tall wild grass. This implies that he was much taller than I originally thought. There was no trail into or out of this said flattened spot either. The deer leave trails in and out of their bedding area. Every day for the past 17 years that I've worked there, I've always seen deer every morning as I drove to my building. But since then, I've only seen one deer twice, and it was 4 to 5 weeks after the sighting, before I saw a single deer again. That was just last week, and since that sighting, the morning birds have stayed silent. The crickets and peepers are there, but the birds are not. I say hello every morning now as I walk up to the entryway. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed these 4 encounter stories as much as I did. Again, wishing you all a happy Labor Day weekend, and I hope it's filled with relaxation, fun, and maybe even some time outdoors. A big thank you goes out to our current channel members for their continued support. It truly means a lot to me. Thank you guys so much. And if you're a returning viewer and haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that like button, the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss another upload. And if you have an encounter of your own, I'd love to hear about it. Send your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. Wishing you all a great long weekend ahead, and be sure to come back next week for more mysterious tales on Ontario Cryptids.